to Gems of Arabia. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you all here at our Ethereal Echoes special episode with our celebrated international artist, Marina Fedorova. Thank you for making all of this happen, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
We also have artist extraordinaire, one of my personal favorites as well, Lulwah Al Homoud. Welcome. It's lovely to have you here with us. And Fida Baddour, really a force in the retail industry in Saudi, single-handedly kind of revolutionized many international brands, from Chanel to Bulgari to Tiffany. And now we're talking with Fida on this incredible concept store that we have here, MOKSYZ.
Yeah.
So thank you for having us here.
Thank you very much for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Marina, tell us, with the culture being as a muse, what is it about the local culture that inspired you the most in collaborations? So when you see a collaborative effort that happens as a heritage itself, how does heritage, what does it embody to you?
For my artistic career, it's not the first time I'm paid tribute to tradition and heritage. For example, I'm working for Cosmodreams project since 2017, and it's a multi-clusteral project, and it's supposed to be traveling exhibition through all the world, and that's how clusters. Chinese fairy tales and Arabian fairy tales appeared. I'm studying carefully traditions and legends before I start my creation. Saudi Arabia was a terra incognita for me. And of course, when I started to learn about it, I was surprised, I was excited but by such places as, for example, Alaula, which I find cultural and artistic most exciting location in Saudi Arabia. Unfortunately, I didn't visit it yet, but I watched videos and photo reportages, and it's really in my dream list right now. And it's an amazing place that has like Martian landscapes, mountains, and black plateaus and oases, and especially these architectural elements that were preserved. In my imagination, I drew the stories how it can be portals to another worlds.
Absolutely.
Or, for example, Diria, that I hope I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah.
Diria. This mud-made architectural elements and the city, it's from one side very traditional, but from the other side futuristic.
Absolutely.
Again,
it does have a futuristic side as well.
Yes, yeah. And I also imagine how for centuries it will be preserved. And in one of my paintings, we can see this ancient city in a background of waterfalls and rivers. So planet can change, but this heritage spot will stay. So for me, Saudi Arabia is an endless source of inspiration, which I'm very thankful, and I'm happy to be here today with all these nice people. Thank you very much.
Delighted to have you all here as well. Lulwah, tell us about your creative process, and tell us a bit more about how you started creating this incredible, precise imagery of Islamic art meets mathematics meets calligraphy.
Yeah, I think I started like every artist, sketching and drawing, especially portraits. And I left it for a while because I really wanted a proper education to start from. Unfortunately, we didn't have that in the old days. So when I traveled to London, I studied art and design. And
where did you go to school?
I went to the American College in London, and then I did my MA at Central St. Martin's.
MashaAllah.
And when I went to Central St. Martin's, I wanted to discover my own culture, because I felt that our upbringing, maybe in Saudi Arabia in the old days, was kind of isolated us from the Islamic heritage in terms of art. Not as, of course, the practice.
Why isolated?
I still don't understand it, but right now, I'm very happy that we are reconnected to our past, to our heritage. And I think this is the biggest achievement of the change we are witnessing right now, is actually to
Celebrate it.
reconnect it and to be, how can I say, to get inspired of that, because we have a great sophisticated ideas that we can get inspired by. So when I wanted to rediscover that, I said I will study what geometry is about. Why is it a rigid form of art, or what does it mean? Why did they use this? So I went across so many misconceptions and misunderstanding about the term Islamic art itself, and about understanding Islamic art. And unfortunately, in the West, we only have what they wrote about us, and we blame ourselves because we did not write about our own culture so much, and it was misunderstood because it was looked at from an Orientalist point of view, which is different from the other culture, and it was misunderstood because they said geometry and calligraphy was chosen because of the prohibition of the form, the human form or the animal form, which is totally wrong. And I actually proved that in my essay in Citra St. Martin's, because there is no proof of that in the religion itself. So I think this was misunderstood not by the West, but by our cultures.
Yes.
So I wanted to dive into that geometry, and it was like a sea of knowledge for me. I'm still learning, to be honest. And the precision of what they've done is amazing. It's one of the miraculous mathematics in Islamic art that even mathematicians say that these are one of the miraculous mathematics concepts in the geometry that was created by it. And I love the fact that it is it's not about who the artist is, it's about the message in the art. So we don't know who created these geometric huge heritage that left for us. So I love that, really. And I didn't want, of course, to reproduce what has been done because it's so great, but I said, nothing can stop us from developing what's been there. So I started to develop as an artist the relation between calligraphy and geometry, and there is a very, very deep relation between the two. I started converting the letters into, I used a mathematical Vedic square to create new codes for each Arabic letter, to create a pattern that is a language more than just a geometric.
That's quite a process.
It was a process. It took me a year actually to get there.
Impressive.
Very impressive. We're talking about our passions, we're talking about the effort, we're talking about things that inspire us, but we also have to have the business acumen, and we have to have the know-how of how to position it. And who better than Fida to kind of let us know, give us a bit more information about your experience in the retail landscape and MOKSYZ as well.
Yeah, of course. But before going there, I was very much inspired by both artists here on the panel, and listening to both of them and seeing how they did not know each other before personally, and they say things that connect very much. I guess artists first connect, talking about the land of inspiration, now a new, very inspirational thing, Saudi Arabia and the Arabian land for her, Marina, and talking about people don't know us as much as we wanted to know us because we did not write much about them. So now it's I can say, a land of opportunity for those who want to get inspired. Our land here in Arabia or in other Middle Eastern places where we were being portrayed in some cliche, while it is a great source of inspiration that we have.
Absolutely.
And again, talking about the evolution in art and display, for me, I can say inspiration is a kind of evolution for everything. That's how we grew. If it was now, Lulwah was talking, she took mathematics and mixed it with calligraphy and made art about that. That's a kind of evolution, like you mix two colors and create a new color out of it, and that becomes something to take it further to something else in the future. Maybe our children and our grandchildren which take those spaces and make it an evolution to go somewhere else also, which is amazing. That's same in the retail business, where we tend to see what was working, how is the past, and how we make it into a nice evolution to create a better experience for clients, for people who want to get inspired from retail, because each piece you go and see in a store, in a retail store, is an artwork at the end. Someone put their thoughts or their creativity behind to create it and made it so as an artwork. So when you go and browse in the store, you're browsing an art gallery under the name of X brand, but it's pieces of art. And from here came MOKSYZ, and where we are today in this beautiful space. Thanks for accepting being our space, being your platform to explore Marina art.
Thank you.
Yousef creations. And this space, when we start thinking about it, we had time, in fact, from a busy retail time, I guess COVID gave us time to reflect and think.
To everyone.
So we took time and see how we can take retail to a different level, knowing that, yes, major brands are there, are strong, and they have the capacity to invest, to get known. However, how we can attract people to come into a different kind of retail store and live a nice experience.
And nurture artists as well.
At the same time, how we can bring artists and creators that don't have the maybe financial capability of investment to showcase or to promote their art. And there are a lot, as you might know, Lulwah, lots of people must have the talent but cannot express them for different reasons. And this space is a space where we get in touch with local artists in Saudi Arabia, because we have the same space in the United Arab Emirates, but here in Saudi Arabia.
How long has this space been open now?
We opened in February this year, so almost 6 months, 7 months.
Okay.
We are still in the stage of working it out and putting the direction we wanted to go, which should start by January, so in 2 months. And we are collaborating with young Saudi artists, designers, or artists in different fields to showcase them in a different way. So making the merge between art and fashion and retail. So from one side, the client entering this space would discover not only beautiful creation, but a total beautiful environment curated by like-minded people. So if it's an artist, or it's a businessman, or a fashion designer, or someone else. So the idea is to come and discover beautiful things in a nice atmosphere.
Well, hats off to you for this fantastic space, which we're very proud of. And behind me, you have a dress that is designed by Yousef Akbar. And tomorrow we'll be having a demonstration where Marina will be showcasing her art on the dress itself. So it literally embodies the marriage between art and fashion, and in particular international art with Saudi fashion. So I think that this is reiterating the movement that we're all creating, and I'm very excited about this. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. So speaking of some of your very iconic pieces which you have created, especially in particular the one that's in Al-Ihsa. and there is, how did you choose Al-Ihsan? What is your process of selection? I understand that it represents and embodies the idea of an oasis in the desert. But care to tell us a bit more about, we're Gems of Arabia, and we talk about the gems that are also landscapes and locations. So how did you come to terms with that yourself?
Yes, as I already said, Saudi is full of surprises for me. And before, I knew only that Saudi is the driest country in the world, almost with no rivers. And to learn about Al-Hasa oasis was for me like a miracle, that in a center of the desert it could exist such a miraculous space with I think almost 2.5 million palm trees. And I know that it's something very special. When rain drops and penetrate the ground, it stays there like aquifers, which gives water to the palm trees, which I found absolutely exceptional. Of course, such a place could not leave me untouched and inspired for several creations. So here in this exhibition, there are several artworks that inspired by this place and dedicated to oasis. For example, it's green dress where I choose to locate a beautiful Yousef Akbar dress among the palm trees.
Very Saudi green as well.
Green,
you capture the right
yes,
color, yeah.
This emerald green, it's very symbolic for Arabian culture.
Absolutely.
And another creation which I think a central one, it's a palm tree lady, which will welcome us in the entrance of the exhibition.
The sculpture.
Yes, sculpture.
Yes, that you have at the main entrance. You have a sculpture, and the sculpture is an inspiration of Al-Ihsa as well.
I would say it's like a main point, and it's the main item of this exhibition.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I'm not maybe professional. Of course, I don't know as well as you Arabic history and tradition, but it struck me that. And I was again surprised, as you said, that a lot of things are very unknown for us Europeans about Islamic art and history. That in the pre-Islamic time, it was three goddesses, and one of them was Al-Alat, and she was a goddess of fertility, love, and nature. And for me, somehow, this oasis and this goddess, they become something like together, something emerged, unique. And that's how this sculpture was born. I imagine this goddess that she preserved and cared and give her support to this place. And also I discovered that Al-Alat, she was mostly represented in white color. That's why I also choose a white color for my sculpture. So yes, for me, for European artists, it's very interesting to dive in the Islamic history and discover these new things.
Absolutely, and definitely one of the pièces de résistance that you have at the entrance. Everyone that will come for the exhibition will be able to see it at the main entrance. So, Lulwah, tell us, your involvement in linguistics as well, I believe, right?
I know.
Yeah? There is...
Maybe there's a link, maybe?
There is, yes. I mean, definitely, your work speaks for many different regions. But when you are in the process of designing, it's very much relevant to Arab culture. But at the same time, I feel like it has appeal, and international appeal. How does one achieve that cultural resonance when they create something locally with Islamic influence, Arabic influence, but at the same time it has such an incredible appeal internationally? How does one achieve that?
Before I answer that question, I must say, I mean, after you said that Saudi Arabia is full of surprises, it's full of surprises to us as well, Saudis, because we are discovering also our country. I mean, Al-Ula is new to us, and when I went there, it was really magical. And to answer your question,
it's almost like we are rediscovering our culture.
Everything. everything. And I feel really proud every time I see something that I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And I say, I'm so happy to live this period because I'm witnessing, that change. I'm witnessing, these discoveries that has not been there for us before.
Yes.
It's a really amazing time. I love, how this brought us together because we're speaking a universal language. Art is a universal language. Fashion can be a universal language. And this is why my art maybe was appealing also to different cultures. To start with, Islam itself is a universal concept. It did not come to certain race or certain color of people. It was for the whole world. So its art is exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
If we understand it correctly, this is what it is. It's a message for the whole world. It's not, it's a connection with God. And it's a connection with the creation itself.
Yes.
To find yourself in this whole creation. Whether I used calligraphy, whether I used letters, whether I used geometry, it is a universal language. But it's also not only universal in time, in terms of space, but it's also continuous and eternal. It's an eternal language as well.
And it's also about changing perception. It's about changing the narrative and showcasing that something classic or something that appears to be primitive can also be very progressive and modern.
Futuristic as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Completely agree. Fida, so what are your thoughts on the evolution of classic concepts that are locally perceived as something very traditional, but then also kind of translate internationally? I'm sure that you've seen a surge of an evolution of different in taste, and people kind of. I'll give you an example. The younger generation, like my nephew, loves the brands, but also likes something local. Do you feel like the local perception now are also appreciating the merge between international and local?
I guess it's not only about the local, especially for the young coming.
Yes.
They want to express themselves. And we're seeing more and more, especially with the younger generation, they are a bit going away from the brands that can be copy-paste or imposed on them with the style and with the design and with the look, and going more for creators that are doing things that reflect them as clients and reflect their personality in fashion, in art, in everything that goes around, especially when we see them coming here to MOKSYZ. Obviously, I have client at MOKSYZ totally different from me, who is the old generation clients. They come and they don't just accept what is on this rail or this rail. They go and mix and match whatever is here.
More individuality.
Exactly, to express their individuality. And that's becoming more and more common. And the most interesting thing that they inspire their elders.
Yeah.
And a mom would come with her daughter, and her daughter is working on the look. Rather, if you remember, like 10, 15 years before, it was the mom who is coming and telling, okay, you have to dress up like this or like this. It's totally
So they're the decision makers now.
Exactly, and we feel it a lot now.
Okay.
It's a bit confusing for a retailer, especially with the big retailers, which are, if I can say, the big machines, to change direction on how we do the retailing at the shop floor, not just the marketing, even the retailing, and how the team at the shop floor should handle this kind of new client who knows what they want, who knows how I want to style myself in a different way. And again, talking about styling, it's all about art again. It's about mixing colors. It's about mixing shapes together. It's all an art space to come and curate for themselves, for their wardrobe, their art pieces.
And in case everyone is aware that the Ethereal Echoes is this movement. This is what it's creating. It's creating a merge between international artists and local fashion designers. So I was just looking at this VR of Yousef Akbar's dress, and it just kind of reiterates the fact that it's very much Saudis also has a very youthful side, and a huge portion of the community in Saudi is under 25. So we're talking about a very progressive, modern way of approaching retail art that is expected, and I'm really excited to see what's to come for the exhibition as well. Moving on to Marina, there's one incredible VR movement that's been created when you're going from the art, actual art, to the canvas, and then into VR. And that whole process and transition, obviously, with Cosmo Dreams and with Ethereal Echoes, what you are creating is a merge between your actual art and taking people being able to go into the world of your art through VR. How does this transition happen? What is the creative process for that? I mean, I know it's difficult enough to create the actual art itself, which is incredible, but what about the other part?
Actually, for me, it's easier to create traditional art or on canvas.
Okay.
Yes, digital tools, they meant to bridge actually younger generation with traditional art.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what we see right now in Europe, I notice, which is very different, for example, from China or Eastern world, that people, they're losing interest. Unfortunately, art becoming out mode. And to attract young generation, we find this trick to show art through the screens of their phones.
Yeah.
And maybe then they will pay attention to oil on canvas painting. But for me, it was also appeared like a new tool in my palette, and I changed my perception of it. Before, I considered myself as very conservative artist, but at the end, I found that the digital, it's very nice new tool that helps to express my art better. And of course, the process itself is very different. When I'm working on my painting, it's only my responsibility. I'm the only one creator. When we are doing AR and VR, it's more teamwork. And it reminds me like a movie creation. I'm doing sketches, I'm writing script, then we create in 3D models and do animation. It's a teamwork. But I'm still trying to keep my idea as close as possible. And for me, it's a way to show my inner movie to the audience, because art is very subjective, and everyone can have its own perception and its own imaginative world. So for me, it's just a way to share more what in my head.
Absolutely. For people to go into your universe.
Exactly.
And make them sense art through a different lens, and this is basically what the work is all about. And
yes.
You literally get to go into the world of the artist. I can't tell you the reaction that I've had from so many people just from a few snippets that we've had on social media. And one day maybe you can also look into creating this, coming into this world as well. But I understand. What do you believe about the teachings of heritage through art? I believe that you're a beacon of that, in the sense where your inspirations and what your work represents is everything that relates to heritage. How can you ensure that academically? How can you ensure? Is there a way that this legacy of yours can continue? What do you advise artists? What kind of steps do they need to take? Because obviously not everyone has this emphatic and passionate first sight, because it's quite a difficult art movement to create. But how would you encourage it?
Do you mean encouraging academic learning?
Teachings, yeah.
Yeah. I believe in education so much, and I believe that even exhibitions are educational. I believe that when you go to a museum, is educational, but it has to start also from an early age at school. I know now they are including, they have included me also in the curriculum of art education in Saudi Arabia and other artists as well, which is a great thing to do. It's just about, at least introducing these.
You say it in a very modest way.
Thank you. I mean, if art doesn't keep us modest, it's useless. Really.
That's amazing.
It's about the message in the art. It's not about me as a person, because at the end of the day, it's what I leave behind. It's not me. It's the art that will stay behind me. I live temporarily in this world, and my art is gonna stay much longer than me. The message in my art is gonna stay much longer than me. So it has to be about the art, and I think this is something that it's
It's a legacy. Also, it's about legacy.
yeah, it's also a way of self-discipline, تهذيب النفس through art as well, which I believe in very much. I don't know how to translate تهذيب الروح أو تهذيب النفس. Discipline of
I mean, discipline. Yeah, self awareness of what you're doing. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to find actually that kind of art that really changed me from deep within, and I think that is the best thing that ever happened to me through my research and through my art, that I learned what people leave behind is actually much more important than the people themselves. We go back to education. I think education is very important. As I said, the most important thing about art and culture is that it brings people together. You find a lot of similarities away from politics and away from everything else. Through culture, you find that we have the same ideas, we have the same background when it comes to, there are a lot of similarities in so many different cultures, no matter where you go. I mean, I found similarities in Japanese art, I found similarities in Western art, and it's basically the same message. People are trying to express what they believe in, what they feel, and we are, as human beings, are the same at the end. So I think education is very important because it really dissolves that space between us and other cultures. And also it makes people understand who made it in their country and why they made it and what they added to their art, what's new in their art. So yeah, I believe in education very much.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a legacy there, and as you mentioned, art is definitely a universal language that many relate to, and passion comes through with it. Speaking of legacy, speaking of making a mark and bringing communities together through art, through fashion, what kind of legacy would you like to leave, Fida, with the retail experience that you have created over the years? Because many are aware also, but Fida will not tell you, but the experience that he has had, and he has also been a mentor to many of us in the retail field, working with Chanel and Bulgari and most of the LVMH groups. And when Saudi didn't have an ecosystem, didn't have this kind of vision. So I just wanted to point that out, that we've learned. He's been a great teacher to all of us. But what is it that you think an important element that can be left in the retail environment when you apply it to the local narrative? What will differentiate us from the rest of the world?
First of all, in terms of retail, lots of people, when they think about retail, they take out the creativity side of it. Believe me, I struggled much personally because I started my career in communication and marketing, and when I wanted to move to retail, not everybody was convinced that a marketing person or a creative person could become a commercial person, which personally I was convinced that yes, it can be, because everything needs creativity.
Yeah.
Everything needs the other side of the brain. And
And they have to go hand in hand.
And they should go hand
Yeah.
in hand, because if you don't have the creativity, we would have stayed, as far as I know, back in the 80s, selling items from behind the counter like we do in a pharmacy today. So if there were no creative people to create client experience, adapt client experience to the time where we are living, regardless how old is this person, he has to put his feet in the shoe of a client and see what today the client wants, and they creatively make the strategies and the retail space adapted for that. What I would love to have in the future is, well, I always want to work with creative people in terms of retail, and I always enjoy the time I talk, or if maybe I teach or I mentor in a way or another, those young creative people to understand the importance of putting the commercial side to the creative side. Of the camera, we were discussing with Lulwah the subject of being creative doesn't mean you shouldn't be commercial at the same time. Artists, whatever kind of art they are doing, should survive and should feel the success of their creativity monetized in a way or another. And to do that, they have to have from one side their creative side, and from the other side their commercial and business side.
Absolutely.
Okay, in order to be able to present their creativity and their creation to the public, or else it would be like a beautiful woman locked inside a room and is not going outside for people to discover her beauty and to go more social. Okay, so that's the role, the commercial role of the artist, to bring its work outside in a commercial way and to make it available as much as possible to its own public.
And what could be more symbolic than this collaboration with Ethereal Echoes, with Marina and Yousef Akbar? Yousef Akbar also being placed at a major location in Riyadh. And thank you, Marina, as well. And thank you, Fida, for making it happen. And thank you, Lulwah. But before we go, I would like to ask Marina, what do you think about legacy? You already created a new narrative with your art and VR. But what would be your idea of successful cultural approach, and what is legacy to you? Like, what kind of legacy would you want to leave with your art?
Speaking about cross-cultural collaboration,
Yeah.
I would say that it's very important for us to be mind open and not to be too afraid to dive in another culture. And for me this experience, it was quite new but very exciting.
Yeah.
I would say my first collaboration with a fashion designer.
Yes.
But also about legacies, I absolutely agree that our artworks remains after us, and it's how people will remember us. But it's also very important to share our craftsmanship. And for example, recently we've been in China to participate Art 021 art fair, and as well I did a workshop and masterclass in SIVA, which is Shanghai Institute Visual Arts, and they are open for new technologies, and for them it's also something that just appeared and very interesting. And I explained to students about my creative process, how from classical work or on canvas I go to virtual world, and how I make the story longer. And I saw this interest in the eyes of students, how they excited, how they inspired, and I'm sure that of course it's only a step. Art and technology will go further, but it's very important to give an impulse, to give this inspiration to younger generation, so they keep being creative and
Yes.
open-minded and open to discover new world, new cultures, new traditions. So I would advise for new generation be receptive and open-minded.
Absolutely. When it resonates, when the art resonates to all generations, then you can make sure that it will make a mark and it will remain in our passions and in our hearts. But thank you all for being part of this today.
Our pleasure.
It's my pleasure, and just so everyone knows, this exhibition will be at MOKSYZ. Marina Fedorova art exhibit called Ethereal Echoes will be at MOKSYZ for the next 2 weeks. Century Mall. So do not miss it. I guarantee you will be transported into another world. So thank you, and see you soon.